Jean McConville was 38 years old when she was dragged from her Belfast home by gunpoint in front of her 10 children, never to be seen alive again. Her case became one of the most notorious unsolved murders during the period of unrest in Northern Ireland known as the Troubles. Unsolved until perhaps now. Our next guest spent 4 years researching the case and thinks he might know who did it. Patrick Radden Keefe joins us now. Good morning, Patrick. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
It's a fascinating story. There's a lot to unpack. We don't have a lot of time, so let's just start with Jean. Who was she? We know that she was a mother of 10. Her husband passed away, so she was raising them by herself. Tell us more.
So she was this woman who lived in Belfast, and one night she was at home in her apartment in West Belfast in a housing project in 1972, and a gang of masked intruders came to the door. They pulled her out in front of her children. They said, "We just need to talk to your mother. We'll bring her back in a few hours." They never did. She disappeared, and the children grew up not knowing what happened to her.
Now, there's other people playing a prominent role in this story. The Price sisters, known as the Crazy Prices. How do they fit into the story?
So this was how I actually came to this book, is this woman died in 2013, Dolores Price. It's her photo on the cover of the book. And she was the first woman to join the IRA as a frontline soldier. And what I found out is that she was involved in this operation to take Jean McConville away. It was the IRA that took her away and disappeared her.
Now, McConville seemingly, as we said, vanished in thin air until 2003 because a man named John Garland was wandering the beach and he saw something caught his eye.
Yeah, so what happened is these children, the 10 children grew up orphaned, not knowing what happened to their mother. They eventually sort of got a sense that it was the IRA that had taken her away, though they didn't know where she'd been buried or what happened. And one day this guy was walking along, sort of a beachcomber, walking along in the Republic of Ireland, and he happened to see, sticking out of the sand, some bones. And when they tested the bones, they did DNA tests, they discovered that this was where Jean McConville had been buried, and they found a skull with a single bullet hole in the back of it.
See, this part of the story is really interesting to me. The research that you would have to do to investigate this story. I mean, and then to follow up and interview some of the children and to hear their stories of what life was like after losing their mother in the most unexpected and violent way. What did that do to your perspective on this story when you got their personal accounts of what their lives were like after the abduction?
Well, it brings the tragedy home, right? I mean, part of what I wanted to do was look at this single act of violence in 1972 and look at the people on both sides of it, so the victims, but also the perpetrators, and follow them and look at the trauma of that over the years. And so, getting to know the McConville children certainly brought that experience home, but then also thinking about the people who did this thing and what it meant to them to look back with, I think, in some instances, guilt and trauma over this crime they'd committed.
Now, in the book, you name the person that you think could have perhaps fired that single shot, and you reached out, you tried to interview them, never heard back.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm less. I understand you being cautious in the way you presented. I would say I figured out who did it, and I named the person in the book. I did, in the process of reporting, went to the lawyer for this person and said, "I'm writing a book. I'm going to accuse your client of one of the most famous war crimes of the Troubles." Didn't hear back. And eventually, after the book came out, this person did come out and deny it. But that was 5 or 6 months after my initial overture.
Now, when you started writing this, was it your hope that you would uncover the mystery, that you would come to a conclusion? Or was it in the process of writing, did you say, "Wow, I think I can get there"?
To be honest with you, I did not start out thinking I was going to solve it. It happened almost by accident, but I spent 4 years. I went back and forth to Northern Ireland, interviewed over 100 people, and slowly this thing came into focus, and I realized that I'd figured out who this person was.
And what did that do? I mean, did you then approach the authorities? Did you say, "Hey, I know you haven't solved this thing, but I think I've done it"?
Yeah. Well, what I had to do was first be sure that I was right, and so I went back and did a bunch of extra interviews now that I had a theory of the case. Came out certain that I'd found the right person. This person has not been arrested or charged, I should say, but the standard of proof for me as a journalist is different than it is for the authorities. This is a cold case murder from 1972, no physical evidence, no living witnesses. So it's one thing for me to publish the name in a book, pretty confident that I'm right. It's quite another for the authorities to take action.
If there's one thing that I've learned from mystery novels and movies, it's that when you uncover things that in the past that want to stay hidden, bad things can happen. Have you received any pushback from sort of casting a light on this on this situation?
A little bit. Well, look, the title of the book is Say Nothing, right?
Yeah.
And here I am coming out and trying to say as much as I can about what I've learned. And so there's been some pushback here and there. But actually, in general, the book has already come out in Northern Ireland, and the reception has been much better than I ever could have asked for.
Well, congratulations to that. Congratulations on the book. Thank you for coming here and sharing the story with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, and the book is called Say Nothing.